Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be setting up my 2025 bow. It's the Lift X 33. We got it in that tool switched it. You knew that too, didn't you? Where did he put it?
In his office.
In his office? That guy's a dick, dude. Got my too. Cause I asked if this is mine, you told me, yup. Yup, it's your bow. It looks like that, but it's a different color. I'm gonna go run and grab it. Alright, so got my actual bow now. Derek and Zack played a little joke on me. That was pretty funny. We got the Lift X 33 in all shale. So you guys I asked on Instagram if you guys wanted to see more of like a B-roll type setup or a more in-depth video. You guys want to see an in-depth video, so I'm gonna kind of go into a deep dive on how I set a bow up. I'm not gonna get super technical, but just kind of take you guys along and talk through every step I go through. So we're gonna start by switching the strings on this. All us guys here at the shop, we switch everything over to America's Best Bowstrings. Shout out to them. They're a really good company to work with. They hook all of us up with strings. So since we're all getting new bows every year, there's not really a reason for us to switch strings. So they hook us up and let us put them on our new bows so that we can kind of test with them and experiment. Obviously make the bows look cool, but you almost died, Zack. It's karma. But yeah, they hook all of us up, let us test their strings out and all that, so that we don't have to hold on to a bow for a couple years and then change strings. Because really nowadays, most factory bowstrings are good enough that you don't have to change them right away. But as far as switching over to a custom set, they are going to be a higher quality string and cable set. So we're going with the launch set. On the Lift X, removing the axles on to get these yokes off, you have to take both axle caps off. And then when you do that, you have to now thread that axle back through. Once you got it through, then you can push the axle through, get it out. Alrighty, so I asked, I put like a little question thing up on my Instagram story yesterday, letting people know we were doing a bow build. So I asked you guys to leave me some questions. So I had a couple good questions, some that were not so great questions. First one is from Nico T32. That's a good buddy of ours at the shop here. It says, anchor tips / tricks, how to know your draw length is correct so your anchor is consistent. So that one's kind of a technical question, but not too much. First thing to know what your draw length is to measure your wingspan from fingertip to fingertip, and then divide that number by 2.5. Now, when you measure that, you want to make sure your arms aren't too low, too high, and you're not like trying to stretch your wingspan as far as you can go, because then you're throwing off your number. Just relax, arms spread out. For me, that puts me basically dead on 27.5. So I run the bows at 27.5. Another thing that can help with anchor point and like draw length, like he was saying, is you want to make sure the bow is set to your draw length, and then if you need to move, like you feel like you want to anchor farther back or further forward, I wouldn't want to change the draw length of the bow to do that, because then you're changing where the string's actually making contact with your face. So it would be harder to find a good anchor point if you say you want to anchor your hand farther back. If you move the draw length back, now you got to tip your head back up to get the nose on there, throwing all that off. So I would adjust that with loop length, which would, there was another question, I think. The benefit of D-loop size. I'm going to assume they meant length. They might mean different types of D-loop material. If they're referring to the length, that would kind of depend on where you like to anchor. All right, so next question, explain why you are do things. Need a base for setting up my own bow. That's from Luke Willoughby. He's been a good customer in the last couple of years too. He just got kind of like a home bow shop set up, or working on it anyway. I guess that's probably more of a general question of, you know, why I would say tie my D-loop the way I'm tying it, or setting the peep, that kind of stuff. While we're doing strings, I mean, I can explain that. I'm assuming that's something he'd like to do. If he's doing his own home shop, he might need to know how to do that. When you're doing strings, just do one piece at a time. Take your time with it. You can get pretty confused and wrapped up if you take all the strings off. Then you might not know where some of them go back. Now, I've done enough of them where I'd probably be fine taking everything off and then putting everything back on. But with this way this axles are on this bow, I don't feel I should take it all the way apart. Woo! About lost a cam. Just take your time with strings and cables. I would be answering part of that question. Depending on the bow, why is it better to move shims and not arrest to get a bullet hole? So the reason you don't want to move arrest, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into this question when we start tuning, but the reason you'd rather shim a cam or, you know, on the lift axe, it'll be the limb shift, you know, adjusting the limb tip. Other bows such as the Bowtechs or the Elites have their own, you know, tuning system as well. The reason you'd want to do that rather than move a rest is because then you're taking your rest out of center shot. And so when you take your rest out of center shot, that arrow's pointing, you know, away from down the center of the bow. And then your sight has to play catch up and move farther over, to keep up with that. And holy knot here. So, you know, having your sight have to catch back up to your rest, and then you're always going to be chasing it because it's wanting to point and leave. Let's say you move your rest to the left for a right tear for a right-handed shooter. You're always going to play catch up with your sight. You know, the farther out you go, you're going to notice, you know, you might have to keep moving your sight right to keep up with or moving your sight left to keep up with the arrow as it's drifting off. That's why you don't want to move the rest. I mean, that's the absolute last thing I want to do when I'm tuning a bow is move the rest. Sometimes there's no other option and you have to do it. Some bows aren't as tunable. Most of the flagship bows nowadays shouldn't have to worry about moving the rest as long as you have a proper arrow spine. So Jason Poena, however you say that, he said thoughts on super light arrows for hunting. I didn't want to get into the heavy versus light arrow. So personally, I prefer an arrow that's heavy, but not like ridiculously heavy. Most of the arrows that I'd be setting up for myself are going to be between 450 and 500 grains, shooting 70 pounds. If I was shooting less weight, I'd, you know, accommodate that down a little bit. My thoughts on super light arrows, it depends on what you're hunting. If we're talking whitetails, you know, anything what I would consider super light would be anything sub 400 grains. It's not something that I would personally do. I know there's a lot of people out there that have a ton of good luck running arrows that are that light, but I'm not much of a speed guy. I've got a short draw length, so I don't get speed anyway. So I sacrifice the speed I do get and just go for penetration. That would be the only thing that I'd be worried about shooting a super light arrow, would be getting penetration. Now, if you're like a 29 or 30 inch draw length, I think you'd have a lot easier time getting away with a lighter weight arrow, just because you're pushing more energy. But I don't think that the speed benefit that you're going to get shooting a light arrow is going to be worth it for whitetail hunting anyway. We got a question here from Derek Vaughan 7. Derek Vaughn 7. Oh, never heard of that guy before, but he said, "Why are you gay?" And that's really funny, because I got another reply here from your mom, and she said, "Not a question, just wanted to say thanks for a great time last night." So how about that, Derek? We're about wrapped up getting these strings on. Based on the way that they felt going on, I think they're going to come in a little bit hot. Everything's adjusted at. Timing actually looks really close, just off the marks here. So let's run over. We'll start throwing some accessories on here. I'll talk through what I have and why I use it, but not going to go in super in detail about exactly what rest and sight are better than others, just what I prefer. So we're going to start by putting the rest on here. As far as bolting it up, there's nothing special that I do. Go ahead and get it on there. I like to press it all the way tight against the riser. That kind of helps it keep from rocking as you shoot, especially with these limb-driven rests. They're pulling down on it all the time. And on these lifts, with the Hamskea specifically, the set screw doesn't actually make contact with any part of the riser, so it's important to get this jammed up tight. They do make a Mathews specific mounting block. If you were to go with a Mathews and a Hamskea, I would recommend that. I think it would just mount up a little cleaner, make sure that it's not going to rock back and forth on you. But we're going to be shooting the Rip TKOs again this year. I'm shooting a 300 spine, 100 grain point, 75 grain insert. I tried them out this year. I've always been shooting 4 mils, but these 5 mils worked out great, and I've got a bunch of them built, so I'm going to keep using them. As far as getting a loop height on here, I usually like to start with like the bottom of the arrow shaft running pretty much middle of the burger hole. If you look on here, there's the burger hole, the inside of it's where you screw your rest into. There's another little hole here, so I use these as a reference and just try and make sure that the bottom of my arrow shaft runs kind of mostly through the middle of that. If it's a little low or a little high, I'm not too picky on it, but I just like to start there. I might end up changing it down the road if I feel like the bow can aim better sitting, with the loop in a different position or whatever. I'm just going to raise this rest up a little bit. The reason I like doing that is because then you're running the arrow just a little bit above center of the bow. And when you do that, the bows, at least when you put a lot of weight on stabilizers and stuff like that, bows tend to aim a little bit better for me. It's going to be different for everybody and how they shoot their bows, setup, stabilizers, all that kind of stuff. It's something you got to play with to find out. Just over the years, I've noticed that moving that D-loop up just a little bit above center's aimed a bit nicer for me. So we're getting ready to open the store here, so you're clocking in because it's about time to start work. Might have to stop and start videoing, but just checking center shot on here. I was a little bit out. Center shot on a Mathews, or most bows nowadays, it's 13/16, and that's measured from the inside of the shelf to the center of the arrow. Run it right there. Acceptable center shot, at least from what Mathews says, is 11/16 to 7/8 is where they consider it to be center shot. So we've got that on there. Just need to tie the bottom end of it off. I'm gonna try using Velcro instead of the rubber like hamski pad. I just got a bunch of it here and try it out. Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna tie it off to the limb instead of the yoke connector. Only reason I want to do that is I just don't want this to have anything that's causing it to rotate back and forth. Zack had a problem on his lift last year of his yoke rings slipping around. Did you have your cord tied off to it? No, it just would walk on you. For those of you who don't know, Zack's filming he's playing cameraman today for me. We just filmed his bow build before this, and so you have to go check it out. I don't know. You're just gonna post it on Instagram, probably.
Yeah, I'd probably put it on YouTube too.
The YouTube short.
Yep.
Anyway, if he's got it ready, I'll link his channel in the description so you guys can go check out his stuff. There's actually a video that him and I did together. Probably what, almost 2 years ago?
2021, I think.
3 years ago? Damn. We did a video together 3 years ago. Zack and I went turkey hunting and had one of the most unreal turkey hunts I've been on. So it'd be cool to watch. He's got a lot of other hunts and stuff on there too, but that one's a good one if you haven't seen it. Now I'm just bowing the end of this so I can tie this off to the limb. Doesn't really matter what knot you use to tie this off. It's just, as long as it stays there, it stays tight. I'm going to tie it off like a D-loop though. Make sure it's nice and tight. Suck this hamski dampener down a little bit more. I'm glad we got an audience now, Tim.
Yeah.
You're learning how to set a bow up too.
Yeah. Pretty exciting.
Alright, we got the rest on there, right where it needs to be, loop tied on. If I can get this damn lighter to light, we'd be in good shape. So we're going to move on to the sight, which I'm going to need my bridge lock screw for. I've been shooting the black gold Ascent Verdict for, shoot, five or 6 years now. Actually longer than that, but it doesn't matter. This one's a newer one that I've had just because I needed one that'll fit in the bridge lock spot. And as far as a sight that fits in here, that's not designed specifically for the bridge lock. I think the black gold fits the tightest, like just naturally in the slot. There's not a whole lot of play in here. Now you'd still want to put the set screw in. It'd fall out if you didn't, but anyway, it's a 3-pin slider sight, so I like about that is I can go shoot long range, shoot tack, all that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to hunting, I don't have to really touch it. But I don't have to have 4 different sights to do all that stuff. I just got one. Alright, next I'm going to do the grip. Now, I'm trying to decide if I want to put the shot sense back on here. I had it on my lift. I didn't use it as much as I thought I was going to. So for now, I'm just going to throw the Ultra View grip on there, the original one. I don't know why, I just think the 2.0, something about it doesn't fit as good as this one does in my hand. Next, I've got the bridge lock stabilizers. You definitely don't have to use these. You can still thread right into the bushings that they've got for stabilizers. What I like about these, 1, they look badass. 2, I like the ability to adjust them. Now, I typically just run them all the way out. And what I noticed last year on the lift was that I needed a little bit more weight on these stabilizers, so I bought some extra weights and weighed this bow down a little bit just because they lightened them up so much. And I like a heavy bow because it sits on a hook all fall, and very rarely do I get to shoot a deer with it, so I don't, and a heavy bow aims better. I like to make sure those are really tight because I don't want it moving. There ain't nothing special with putting these on. As far as setting up stabilizers, it's kind of a trial and error thing. You know, moving weights around. If you're running front and back, moving weights front and back. Changing your pitch in and out. Now on these newer Mathews, be careful moving your back bar too close in and too far down, because this limb tip can run into it, and that would cause you some big issues. Gravity still works. Only thing left is to put on the mounts for the quiver. Holy crap. You guys grease everything up too? Mess with me? I ran the low pro quiver for most of last year on the lift. I liked it. I mean, it's nothing super crazy special. I'm not going to tell you that you have to buy the $250 quiver for your brand new bow. But what I do like about it is how light it is. I've got it right here in front of Zack, actually. I like that it's light, so when I do put it on my bow, I'm not carrying a ton of weight into the woods. And it's obviously, in the name, it's low profile. It sits really close to the bow. Only thing I didn't like about it is it didn't have a hook to hang it up, and I like to take it off. So I just tied a big old loop of D-loop material on there. That solved the problem. I like the colors.
No, that is a cool color.
Now that the strings are on the bow, they look a little bit better to me. I don't know what you think, but... So now, time to go to the press, throw a Peep in there. I should have measured my Peep off the lift, so I didn't have to mess with figuring it all out again. Put it in the press here. One big thing when you're pressing a bow is just make sure that these fingers are even pressure, so you're not pressing one limb harder than the other. That would not be good. It makes it a lot harder if you need to pull an axle or something. It'd make it a lot more difficult. So for me, for my Peep height, oh, their tie's really close. It's usually about the width of my hand with my thumb stuck out. Might be a touch higher than that, but I'd have to reference my lift, but I already took it all apart to set this bow up. Bump it up just a little. That should be good there. Need a twist. Whenever you're twisting to get a Peep sight straight, twist from the bottom. If you twist from the top, you're impacting it too much. Harder to control how much. One twist in a string, depending on the twist rate, and it's generally a 90-degree turn in your Peep. So if you need to, if your Peep's off by 45 degrees, you need to adjust your loop to get it straight. Everything's in the tracks. Peep's coming up square. Just gotta spin our loop straight now. We'll go play with this. Tighten up that loop a little bit. Alright, so we're going to take the first shot here. It looks like we should be close on timing. It doesn't look like it's going to be too high on poundage either for me. No, it's high on poundage. I can tell you right now. Let's go check and see what it's at. Oh, that ain't happening. Not early in the morning. I'm going to have to take Should I just take a turn out of the limbs and then let the string settle in and then just put a turn back on? Timing feels really close. That's at 73 pounds. I'm starting to sweat. Moving around too fast. Peep moved on me. Let's go take a shot, see how everything feels. Careful so you don't fall over. Peep's a little low. Not bad though, actually. Peep's perfect. Go put a spin in it, tie it off. Alright, so Zack wanted to finish some final details on his bow. So I've got the tripod set up here. Went and straightened out the Peep. I just threw a tie around it. I might still play with movement up or down. And I tied a little wrist strap on there. Gonna give this one more shot, then I'm gonna shoot it through the paper. And we're gonna see what we get through there. And if we need to do anything, I will show you my process for doing so. So I got straight left tear. Doesn't look like there's any height in it, which is a good indication that our timing is correct. Yep, so we're getting a straight left tear. It is these two right here. It's about 1 inch straight left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this limb shift on here back to the middle, I think. The top limb, I don't know if you guys will be able to see that. So this top limb, the indicator, is further right. So I'm going to try, we're going to move that left since we have a left tear. I'm going to move it right back to the middle. We're going to go there. The bottom limb is just a tiny bit left of center. So we still got a little bit to move the top to make them even. I want to try and keep them as even as possible. Almost a bullet hole. Super easy, quick to do. Just pop this axle cap off and then throw your Allen in there. Just spin it a little. Put your cap back on. Still a little bit left. Only reason I'm only moving the top limb as of right now is because the bottom limb was already pretty neutral. So I'm just trying to make sure they're adjusted evenly. You don't want to get one all the way one way, one the other. It'll start making things act weird. And that's pretty much a bullet hole right there. Shouldn't take that much more. And that one's perfect. So we started here, about an inch left. Did an adjustment, we getting these three. Chopped that one, and this was just the last shot I just took. Perfect bullet hole. Alrighty guys, so we just finished up the build on the new Lift X33. I want to appreciate or show my appreciation to you guys on watching this video and the responses I got on Instagram for helping me out, giving me some questions to answer while we did this. If you guys have any other questions about anything during the setup that I may have missed, drop them in the comments below. I'll try and respond to them as much as I can. If there's too many to respond to, or it's a little bit more in depth, then I can do in a comment. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video here soon. Anyway, I'm gonna do some shooting with this. Get these strings broken, get a couple hundred arrows through it. Let that poundage settle down, and then I'll probably do a retune on it. Shouldn't be much of a problem. But if you guys have a need for any kind of custom strings or cables, go to americasbestbowstrings.com, or you can come up to Sunrise Archery. We are the #1 dealer for their strings, so we like them. A lot of our customers do too. You need anything for bow work, anything like that, come on up to Sunrise. We'll be willing to help you out. Maybe you can see me. I can try and help you out too. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Drop a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next one.